Okay, here we go. All right, you guys are muted, so if you want to ask something, you have to unmute yourself or raise your hand or jump up and down or something like that, okay? So I'm assuming, starting now, yeah. So I'm assuming basically everyone is aware that Pesach is over, right? You're off of your matzahs now, and we're basically counting down to Shavuos at this point. But the main thing that we want to be aware of during this period of time is we're not just in the time in between Pesach and Shavuos, but rather the only way we're able to get to Shavuos, the only way we can get to Kabbalah Satzar is actually by working through this time that we're in now. The rabbis make this quite clear at the Seder itself, right? They added that mitzvah of the 4 cups, right? So the 4 cups, the Medrash tells us, the Medrash that all the Rishonim rely on, tells us those 4 cups were put into the Seder to remind us of the 4 languages of Geula that we find at the very beginning of Parshas Vayera, right? That says that gives us sort of the Seder, the order in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to take us out from Mitzrayim. So we're told there, Hotzesi is going to take us out from underneath the burdens of Egypt. He's going to save us from the avoda there, and he's going to Ga'alti. He's going to save us. He's going to take us. He's going to redeem us from Egypt. And Lakachti eschem li la'am, and he's going to take us to him to be a people. So it's important to understand these 4 languages are in order. The first stage of the Geula is to remember that we are distinct from the Egyptians. The second stage is to get out of the work that they placed on us, which is not our work. The third stage is the actual departure from Egypt. That's Ga'alti. But there's a 4th language there, Lakachti li la'am, chronological. What's taking place after the Geula? What's this? When does the HaKadosh Baruch Hu take us to be his people? What's it talking about there? Talking about Kabbalah Satzara. Talking about the fact that if you look at the whole process that took place at Har Sinai when the Jews first got to the mountain over there on Rosh Chodesh Sivan, there's a whole negotiation back and forth with Moshe Rabbeinu sort of shuttling up and down the hill. I don't know how many of you have ever heard of Henry Kissinger. Oh boy, I'm really dating myself. Whatever, shuttle diplomacy. Anyway, Moshe Rabbeinu was up and down the mountain between the Jews and the HaKadosh Baruch Hu negotiating. Are we going to go into this? Are we not going to go into this? Reality is, it culminates on the 5th of Sivan before we get to Torah on the 6th with Nasa v'Nishma. When we say, yeah, we're going into this thing. But the whole point is becoming Lakachti eschem li la'am is actually talking about what happened on Har Sinai when we come to Kabbalah Satzara over there. So you have to ask yourself the question, again, now the Seder should be pretty much a distant memory for everybody by this point, but it's not hard to remember just how hard it was to drink that 4th cup of wine, right? At that point, everybody's pretty close to devastated at that point, and another cup is not looking like the most inviting thing to be downing. So why is it that if Lakachti eschem li la'am is actually referring to Kabbalah Satzara, why did the rabbis put it in to the Seder on Pesach? And the answer is because we're not really out of Mitzrayim until we get to Kabbalah Satzara and get the Torah. This is made clear on a number of different levels. The Gra points out that the Yetziat Mitzrayim is referred to in Chumash 50 times. And those 50 times are in relation to those 50 days as we leave Egypt on our way to Kabbalah Satzara. Culminating, the last one is Anochi Hashem Elokecha Asher Hotzeisicha Me'eretz Mitzrayim. That's considered the 50th of these 50, meaning every day as we're leaving, as we're counting this Omer moving from Pesach towards Shavuos, every day is another level of Yetziah from Mitzrayim. The process is not yet complete when the Seder is over. So a certain stage of it has been accomplished when we finish the Seder, and another stage gets finished when we finish Shvi Shel Pesach, when we cross the Yam over there. But the total package of getting out of Egypt is not going to be completed until we get to Har Sinai. These in-between days of the counting of the Omer are all part and parcel of this process of getting out of Egypt. Basically, the way to understand it is what happened, and we spoke about this for those of you who came into the alumni shir that we did before Pesach. The real focus of the Chag of Pesach is really the Korban Pesach, through which we actually recognize Kadosh Baruch Hu as our King. Whatever language is that speaks to you, but basically where we came to recognize that our lives were for something larger than ourselves, right? There's a purpose to our lives. We're not just here to make it through, but rather something larger. And that's really the significance of being Makabel the Malchus, accepting the kingship of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, which is what we did through the Korban Pesach. But the reality is that is not something which is complete unto itself, because it's basically a declaration of intention. We are physical beings. If we don't make that relationship a reality, if we can't act on it here in the physical world, then it's not real for us. We are spiritual beings also. Our source, our root, our essence, our shorish is a spiritual thing, but it doesn't change the fact that the focus of our lives, the emphasis, the is on that physical side. It's a spirit. We're spiritual beings that are living through a physical reality, and you cannot separate one out from the other. This is brought out very powerfully by Rav Dessler, who asked the famous question, what's more important, Torah or mitzvahs? He's asking the Torah over there, what he means by that is the Torah, which is sort of our more internal relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. Is it more important to be connected to Kadosh Baruch Hu internally, or is it more important to be doing those mitzvahs? So depending on what your education is where you're going to leave that answer. But the answer Rav Dessler gives resoundingly is, Rachmana liba boy. The Torah wants your heart, meaning it's that internal sense of connectedness and dedication and relation with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, which is what Torah is really about in its essence. We've heard so many times, you have to do the mitzvahs. If you're not doing the mitzvahs, it's the mitzvahs come first. And Rav Dessler answers by saying the point is like this: if you have this internal sense of connectedness, but it doesn't come out in your actions, then that's not called an internal relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. It's called a fantasy. It's called a thought that's passing through your mind. We as human beings are integrated, both a spiritual aspect and a physical aspect. But the reality is that it's the integration of those two which are who and what we are as beings. If that internal thing is something which is who we are, as opposed to merely a passing thought, then there's a necessity within us that it should come out in action, because that means that where that thought is taking place isn't something that we really are, and who we are is connected to that physical side of things. Actually, I just came across a Gemara recently. Rabbi Akiva talks, when he talks about Torah, he says that we should make Torah a zemer b'kol yom. You need to sing it every day. And the Mepharshim, when they explain it, they say the Torah isn't really Torah unless you speak it out with your lips. It's not enough to be thinking it, to the point where the Maharal says, we don't make Birkas Torah on someone who's thinking Torah thoughts. You have to speak it out. It has to be said through your mouth. It has to take on a physical actualization before it's considered, before there's Torah that's relevant to who you are as a person. But this physical side of things is, this physical dimension is so essential to who we are. It's us all, it's important that we made that first step in Mitzrayim of declaring, yes, I want to be living for something larger than me. Kabbalas ol malchus shamayim. I brought my korban Pesach. I defined myself around my relation with the Kadosh Baruch Hu, and I'm leaving paro in the dust. But I have to make that real. And it's not real to their actions that I can do that give expression to that. Those are the mitzvahs. And that's why, even though there's no question that we accomplished something, we've gone through a stage of the process when we get to the end of the Seder on Pesach night, and another stage when we cross the Yam. But until we get the mitzvahs, that process of leaving Egypt is not complete, because the process of accepting the malchus of the Kadosh Baruch Hu, of declaring, of dedicating myself to a life that goes beyond myself as an individual, it's not real till I can show it in actions. That's really what the mitzvahs are all about. So then the obvious question that you would want to ask, if that's the case, why don't we just get them right away? What's going on over here? We said it already, it was on the 15th of Nisan, right? Or actually on the 14th even. On the 14th of Nisan, we brought that korban Pesach, and at that point, we'd made the dedication. So give us the mitzvahs. What's going on over here? So if you see that there needs to be time in between, it means there's a process that we ourselves need to go through before those mitzvahs can be real or meaningful for us. And what we know what that process is really all about, that process is, because it's what the Sefira to Omer is all about, what this mitzvah is all about, but this period of time is all about, which, even though, again, the mitzvah is a little bit esoteric for us, we count the number from, this is the such and such day from the bringing of the Omer, but we all know, Chazal have filled in for us, that the focus of this period of time is midos. We're supposed to be working on our midos. And it's easy enough to understand the connection between this idea of, what we're saying is, Pesach, we had this great idea, we were inspired, we made this declaration, we made this dedication, but we have to make it a reality for ourselves, bringing it out into action, right? As Mrs. Kagan always says, it's all fine and good for you to tell me, I love you, I love you, I love you, but if you don't take the garbage out once in a while, we're going to have problems. Okay, whatever, anyway. But the bottom line is, the point is what we're trying to do, we're trying to bring it to action. The whole point of Tikun HaMidot, what those actions can only be meaningful, genuine, if those actions are expressions of this spiritual relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. There's a certain magic that we're talking about there, which is that how is it that we can act in the physical world and affect ourselves and change ourselves as spiritual beings connected to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, right? So that's something that there's a certain mystery there, and the answer basically is through the process of developing our midos. The midos, right? When we translate the word midah, we translate it as character trait. But that word midah has other meanings also. Midah means, you can fill it in yourselves, midah means a measurement. And midah also, as it turns out, refers to an article of clothing. It's used in Chumash as an article of clothing. What's really being hinted at here is what we call a character trait is a clothing. It's a process of bringing something into a realm of measurement. What is it a clothing to? What's being brought into this realm of measurement? The answer is the neshama. Basically, what we call midot, that internal sense, that drive for chesed, that need to contain things that we call gevura. All these different names that we have for these character traits. I don't know exactly whether you want to call it an emotion or a drive, whatever term you want to put to it. These things are the consequence of connecting the neshama up with the guf. Right? When the neshama connects to the, you still have your neshama, you still have your guf, but where do they merge? Where do we see the melding together of those two? We experience them in our midos. The midos are basically the bridge across which the neshama connects up to the guf, which basically means, since what makes human beings unique is the fact that we combine these two things together, means that those midos really, in a certain sense, very, very much define who we are, each one of us as individuals, those midos, because those are really the connection between those two. When we talk about Tikun HaMidot, what we mean is that that midah, that drive, that character trait that arises from the combination of the two, if we want to call it a bridge, we can put it this way: the energy that crosses that bridge can go in one of two directions. It can be directed by the guf, meaning that you're sort of the consciousness that you come to by having a neshama can be co-opted by the body for its interests, or the energy that's crossing that bridge can be going from the neshama to the guf, meaning the neshama uses the guf to actualize itself in physical reality. When we talk about Tikun HaMidot, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to determine appropriately the direction of that energy. Chesed, for example. Chesed can be an altruistic act of giving to another person, but chesed is also used as a term for inappropriate physical relations between people. It can actually be an act of giving which is very selfish. Giving can be selfish also. The midah of giving can either be driven from a selfish place, or it can be driven from that altruistic place where I'm living for something larger than myself. This whole process of what we call Tikun HaMidot is what we're working on during this period of time, because if we can bring these two together, if we can achieve this synthesis between our spiritual self and our physical self, then when we do actions in the world, they can affect us spiritually, right? That was basically the title of this year, integration. We're trying to achieve integration. That's what this period of time is all about. And it is challenging. And it's probably never been more challenging than the world that we're living in today. And the way that you see that is, and we spoke about this probably a year when you were in seminary, that as we're going from Mitzrayim to Har Sinai, we bump into Amalek. Amalek is the barrier there. Amalek, this people who the Amalek, the name Amalek is related to the word Malika. What? Question? Where's the question? Who got a question?
Yeah, I just got lost between why midas is the connection between physical and spiritual.
Because the midot arise from the merging together of the neshama and the guf.
Why? Well,
the term midah, when we call it clothing, what is it a clothing for? It's what allows the neshama to be in the world. That drive, that conscious awareness, It's related to conscious awareness, but it's also a physical kind of a sense of a drive. It's a combination between what you are aware of as your neshama, what we might call your conscious awareness, your idealism, which are more sort of created, more related to your sort of intellectual experience, and your physical being and your emotions. The drive arises from giving consciousness to your physical being. And they are the consequence of the merging of the two. And the extent to which you cleanse that connection will determine whether those midot express themselves in idealistic form or in a selfish form. Hold on just 1 second. Yes, we can ask questions. I need to head out now. Bye. Okay, fine. All right, I'll leave it to Mrs. Kagan to tell me the questions. Anyway, yeah, Elisa, does that help?
Yeah, I think so. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, that wasn't so committed, but okay, fine. We'll take it. I'll take what
I'll
I
get
get.
there.
Anyway, the bottom line is that we lived in, I'm not going to go through the whole thing with the Malchus, but we're basically living in a time of Rome. The essence of the energy of Rome is really Amalek. Amalek comes to cut us off in that process of getting from Mitzrayim to Kabbalah Setzara. Amalek is the language of Malika, which means, remember we did this? Right? The Kohanim used to use their thumbnail to shech the blades in the base of Mikdash. The Malika means severing the head, the place where the neshama comes to you, from the body, which is where your physical being is. And basically, the whole process of trying to integrate, we live in a world that really does not understand this. To a certain extent, it denies the possibility, denies the relevance of it. We talked about Asher Karcha B'derech, that Amalek is all about sort of understanding things as just chance events, not being able to connect what's happening in physical reality to purpose, to meaning, to relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu. We live in a world which really tears these two apart. That's really the reason why emunah is so difficult. Genuine emunah in our day is also very, very difficult, because where does genuine emunah really come from? It's not just, it's just not like revving myself up to the fact that I can declare I believe, but rather that deeply anchored sense of compelling awareness that a Kadosh Baruch Hu is there, which arises from the influence of your neshama on your consciousness. Right? That's where emunah is really, that's where real emunah is based. Right? And one of the reasons why emunah is something which is on a certain level artificial to us is not merely because the world denies it, but also because we live in a world which sort of tears us apart internally, where achieving this integration between the two is so challenging. It's so much not what things are about. Because these things are divided one from the other, it means that achieving that integration, which is really the base of that emunah, is very, very challenging, but also gives us a sense of what it is that we need to be working on. Right? The idea of Tikun HaMidot we might think of as like that's one of the nice things we do in sort of our whole sort of whole plethora of obligations that we have, Torah and Maisim Tovim. It's not incidental anyway. It's actually absolutely essential and central to everything that we're doing and everything that we're about. Everything really is kind of building from that. Actually, just sort of throw in for those of you who are looking for so the other thing is that it goes the other way also, which is that as much as our emunah, genuine emunah, is based on that integration, our self-respect is also coming from that, right? We also live in a world, and this is really the indication of just how split these things are. You see how much humanity is denigrated. The idea that humanity has a certain kavod to it, that there's a certain honor, there's a certain, that we have respect, a certain respect that we have for ourselves, a sense that we're more than our physical world. It's also an idea that's so under attack in the world we live in because, again, the ability to sense, to connect up to that deep inner place inside of us that actually goes beyond us and connects up to Kadosh Baruch Hu, very, very hard. It's very much hidden in the world that we're living in. It's very much, it's sort of pulled apart. The Arizal, when he talks about the time, he points out the fact that there are three words that all have the same gematria. Keri, which means chance, like Asher Karcha B'derech was the language by Amalek, they happened upon you. Keri, Yakar, which means valuable, which is a synonym for kavod. Those two words, the same letters, same gematria, the same numerical value as the word omer, ayin mem resh. The omer, what's really going on during this whole period of time, counting the omer, working our midos, we're trying to transform keri into yakar. We're trying to transform an experience of reality and self, which is one of chance, passing, no significance, no meaning, into yakar, into that kavod and that value of things where there is meaning and substance and significance to things. That's what this whole period of time is about. Amalek is the opposite of that again. The Chazal use the term lates, which is like sort of like a mocker. Amalek is famous as a mocker. The mocker is the one who undermines any sense of kavod for something. And that is the characterization of Amalek, the inability to recognize kavod, and actually the kumase, the active process of undermining other people's ability to recognize, experience, and respect that idea of kavod. Okay, so it's nice that I've got a gematria for you, but like, what does Omer have to do with all this thing? We're not counting from Pesach. We're counting from the Korban Omer that was brought the day after Pesach. What's that really all about? Well, again, it's like, well, first of all, what is it? The Omer was that we brought the first grain harvest of the year was brought on the altar in the amount of an Omer, which is a tenth of an ephah, and it was offered up, and we were not allowed to eat any of the produce that we ourselves grew until we brought this korban. And so what's the significance of this korban? What's it all about? So the significance of the korban lies in its name, which is Omer, which is a measurement. Well, what's the significance of that measurement? It's actually a measurement which is used very frequently in the Torah with korbanos, but it's almost never called an Omer. There are three places where it's called an Omer. Shechacha, not our topic for tonight. Korban Omer, and an Omer was the amount that each and every Jew received in the midbar every day of man, right? So it's interesting, like our Korban Omer, we bring this quantity of grain, we call it an Omer, and one of the only other place we see that Omer measurement is referring to the man. And the way the Medrash puts it is, in the Medbar, I give each and every one of you an Omer of man. All I ask from all of the Jewish people one time a year is this Omer. Don't forget this Omer. But what's really going on over there is that we're being required to bring the rachis, the very first of the grains that we create with our own effort and labor by manipulating and working with the natural world to create our sustenance. We bring the rachis of that onto the Beis HaMikdash and we connect it up to the man. We can't eat anything that we made with our efforts until we've connected it back to the man. The whole point is the man is the thing that made absolutely clear that we're being sustained by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And the point of the Omer, and this also the Medrash says explicitly, is to recognize that the whole process of nature is also a creation of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And basically the idea is pretty straightforward. On the 15th of Nisan, right, we're experiencing the culmination of all these incredible miracles that were the content of leaving Egypt. The very next day, we return to our natural experience of the world, but we don't lose sight of the connection between that natural world and the Nisan that we saw the day before. It's basically, okay, let's see if you can remember this. Finish the following phrase. The famous Ramban at the, go ahead, ladies, you can do it. There you go, yes. Famous Ramban at the end of Parshas Bo, right? Which says that from the revealed miracles, we understand that everything's miraculous. It's just a question of whether it's a revealed miracle or a hidden miracle. And the whole point is, yes, at Pesach, Kadosh Baruch Hu completely abrogated the natural world and showed that he was running everything. That's nice. He played the hero. It was wonderful. We can be passively accepting that, but that's not life. That's not our responsibility. That's not being who we need to be. Our job is to be able to recognize that relationship, that oversight, even through the curtain of nature, right? And the whole point of we are counting that reality has to be connected up to all the different aspects of our connection to the physical world. That's that whole journey from Egypt to Kabbalah, etc., is joining up every facet of our connection to physical reality back to that. Oh, remember, okay, we're in the physical world, but it's like Tikun HaMidot in my relationship with the physical world. Just like I recognize it as a connection between the two. I have to develop that connection. I have to cleanse that connection. I have to clean out that connection so that my physical being becomes a clean window for my neshama to shine through it, changing the whole nature of my experience of the reality around me in the world as well. There's an underlying creation of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. That creation is masked by the fact we experience the world as a natural environment. Our job is to link up every aspect of our experience of that natural world back to what was revealed to us on Pesach, on Nisan. And that's exactly what we're doing. It's paralleling one another. In other words, we need to actively put ourselves together. You want to live a meaningful life? You want to really connect to HaKadosh Baruch Hu? We have to do it. It's our responsibility, and it's this period of time. It's all that was going on as we go from Pesach to Shavuos. We have to bring together the fact that we have that spiritual longing, that deeply hidden but still very much there sense of connectedness, a desire for meaning and purpose. We have to take that, we have to make that an integral part of the way that we lead our lives. It's not just mitzvahs, right? You're all very, very busy, right? Some of you taking care of kids, some of you doing your homework, some of you doing your jobs, right? You're meeting with other people, all this other kind of stuff, right? It's not just mitzvahs, there's maisim tovim also, but the bottom line is, can you put it together? Can you make it part of a coherent life of relationship with the Kadosh Baruch Hu? The word Omer, the root of that word Omer, what? I'll get that 1 second, yeah. Yeah, the word Omer is actually related to the word, it's used as a measure only a couple of times in the Torah, but the word Ma'amar is one of the malachas on Shabbos. So you're not allowed to gather things together and make them into a single whole. Sometimes just go into a basket, but often when the Rambam talks about the halacha of Ma'amar, he's talking about like taking a bunch of dates and stringing them together so they become one goof. Ma'amar is gathering and creating a whole out of disparate parts. The whole point is, life can be very diffuse. Life can be very dispersed. Life can be broken up into all these little pieces, right? Our goal, what we're striving for, is we're trying to make this a coherent whole with purpose behind it. We want to link all these different aspects together behind what is ultimately the central purpose, which is defining our lives as individuals. Right? We're living for something larger, and all these things we're doing every day, all day, our involvement in the world, we have the opportunity of making it part of this integrated picture. I'm living for a purpose. I'm doing what I'm doing in the context of that purpose. Again, it doesn't just mean stepping back to daven, which is also important if you have the time and you can't. But even when you're not, just the way you're interacting with other people, being able to show kavod adam, which is really what it's all about. Right, that's what we're really talking about over here. The defining midah, if you're looking for one midah, the defining midah is to be able to recognize the kavod in yourself and other people around you. That's the key to be able to see meaning in the world around us. That's the key to the Omer. That's really what we're talking about. We're living in a time where, again, it's like this is what Ms. Kagan wanted to get us into as well. We're living in a world where you can either relate to it, either our world is disintegrating, or you can understand that our world is actually having a chance for a new integration. It's just a question of how you relate to it, right? The world has been effectively brought to a halt by this coronavirus. We got a 6-week vacation from reality. It was unbelievable when you think about it, right? Everybody's been living their lives in a certain way with a certain focus, completely focused on this or that or whatever it is. Suddenly it comes to a stop for 6 weeks, right? And you can step back and lo and behold, the skies are clear. lo and behold, you're in relationships with people in very close quarters where you can either get upset with it, or you can take the time to sort of look a little bit more deeply and try and connect. And it's for a lot of families, it's been an amazing family time to really appreciate your kids, your parents, whatever it is, right? But the bottom line is, and you see there are people there's some very beautiful poems going on around the internet and stuff like that about, there's a chance here. The world is not going to change. Give it a moment. It will all go back to exactly what it was before. There's no question that that's what's going to happen. But that doesn't have to be true for individuals. Each and every one of us has the opportunity to step back and say, what did I see as a result of this? How do I want my life to be different? HaKadosh Baruch Hu has given us an incredible gift, a moment of a vacation from a very, very regimented, pressured, distracting life, right? Which we're completely caught up on. We've had a kind of a vacation from that, and the opportunity to really step back and try and think about, what do I really want? What's really important to me, right? Individuals can change. The world will not change. It will go back. There's no question about it. But you can change if you want to. And what's going on during this period of time, right? If anything else, right? If we have trouble with miracles, one of the things that was made absolutely clear by this thing, incredibly clear, was the fact that we really are not in control, right? For all the knowledge that we have, for all the ability to manipulate the physical world we have, we are not in control. We do not. As much as we understand nothing. We understand a lot, and yet it's still nothing, right? And I don't mean to undermine the lot that we understand, but as much as there's a lot that we understand, ultimately, on a certain level, it's nothing that we understand. And that's, it's an opening. It's amazing that we should be in this process during Sefira to Omer. That's exactly what Sefira to Omer is really all about, is to recognize that deeper reality and come to define myself as an individual around the fact that the primacy of my reality is that spiritual core, and the physical world I'm living in is just the medium that gives me the opportunity to actualize that and make it a reality for myself as a person. Okay, that was what I wanted to say. I'm going to open up the questions. Anybody wants a source sheet, by the way, just send me an email. I'll send you a source sheet. But you have to unmute yourself so everyone can hear you. No, you have to unmute yourself. Unmute.
You're saying that it's like a 6-week vacation to look at your world differently, but how do you also put in the piece that so many people have been sick and died, and there's a lot of loss also.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to hear the word vacation about it.
Yeah, okay. The vacation, when I say vacation, what I mean is that it's a time when we have the opportunity to really step back. We tend to be so involved. The whole world is very involved in the world, the way that it is structured. You're trying to make a living, you're trying to make things, everything, whatever you want, it's all there. And this was a time when everybody was forced to step back. Yeah, is there is there an incredible, is there a Midas Adin aspect here that we spoke about in the earlier shiurim? That 100%. There's definitely, it's compared to what Midas Adin. In a certain sense, what you can say is, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the time to wake up, the time for a shake and a wake up had come, right? A shake and a wake up is always, its change is always painful. It's always difficult. And as wake up calls come, it's been, I always make this point. It's on a national level, the wake up call has been very, very gentle. We know what an aggressive wake up call looks like, and it's not gentle at all. So from that perspective, on a national level, it's been a very gentle wake up call. That does not change the fact that for many, many individuals, it's been a time of excruciating pain, right? But what that makes clear, the two things of that, which is that the importance of that just accentuates just how important waking up is for us, how important it is to HaKadosh Baruch Hu that wake up take place, that it's worth this kind of pain. And again, it's always two aspects, both of which cannot be forgotten. One is that there are individuals that are in incredible pain. We only do what we can to reach out to them and help them. But on the other hand, when it comes time for a shake-up and a wake-up call, as they've gone historically, this one has been quite gentle. But again, the fact that you see that that incredible pain only comes to emphasize for us one significant aspect of this whole process, which is that what it's all about is recognizing the preciousness of life. The reason why it's precious is because it's meaningful. It's not just biological activity, and it's not just satisfying my needs. There's meaning to it. What it is to be a human being is incredibly precious, and this is, of all times of year, this is really the time to be working on that. We have another class we can talk about in terms of the idea. You see this by the students of Rabbi Akiva, the need to show kavod. We see how central this idea of recognizing the real value of what it is to be alive, what humanity is really all about, so central to everything's going on, and it's very much part of this what this whole process that we're going through now.
Can I mention something?
Yeah,
Totally
please.
separate. Oh wait, Sharon, you asked a
Sharon,
question.
You're first, Sharon.
Okay, I have a question when you're talking about the bridge between the neshama and the guf, and how we want to control the energy to go from the neshama to the guf rather than the other way around. But how would we have the ability to be honest with ourselves where it's coming from, if it's being like you're doing something because it's selfish or because it's your neshama, and like how do you integrate your intentions?
I mean, that's all of Mesilas Yesharim and every class that you had Midrash Tila about developing your midos and what you had in Bali Torah also, right? In terms of the details of that, everything you spent the whole lifetime learning about what it means to sort of develop yourself as a person, become more of a giving person, to do it in a way which is healthy, approaching the process in a healthy way, and not overreaching in a way where it's not real, where you're going to hurt yourself, you're going to fall. All the things that's a longer discussion. It's individual to each person also. And yeah, you're right. It's a sophisticated process, and it's best to have someone that you can speak to get a little bit of guidance on it. But in terms of overall understanding what what it is that we're trying to do is, I mean, again, I'm just using, if you're looking for overarching concepts, kavod adam, recognizing it in yourself and recognizing other people and making them aware of the fact that you're aware of it. Kavod adam. Chesed is at the very basis of the midos that we have, being there as a source for other people and not giving in a way that is for your own selfish needs. Anava, modest humility is also one. Those are if you're looking for like the three overarching ones, each person may want to, you could talk about Tiferes Sheba Gvura or all those other kinds of things. Not saying they're not important, but for most of us, we don't have the acuity to make the distinctions between these things. Really, the approach to Tikun HaMidot, really, we sort of need to teach, each one of us should choose one sort of overarching focus during this period of time, which might be chesed, it might be humility. Kavod Adam is not a bad one to focus on, because you see Chazal make clear on many different levels. Amalek is anti-Kavod Adam, and any kind of a subtlety of lack in this area with the students of Rabbi Akiva is what leads to the fact that we have the specific relationship with this period of time that we have. Kavod Adam is very important, and that includes Kavod Adam starts with respecting your own value and identifying value not with superficial things, but with the fact that we are Tzelem Elokim, that every human being has the capability of choosing, which means to be a creator in the world is an unbelievable thing. Right, to honor a person for the fact that they echo a divine characteristic that nothing else in existence can do, right? And utilizing that in the way you have all the shiurim that we did at Midrash Tila about understanding what it really means to make a choice. But I'm just saying, a human being is a defined thing, and we all deserve that respect and the acknowledgement of the fact that we have that. But it has to start with the acknowledgement of the fact that this is a quality of you also.
Thank you.
Mrs. Kagan, you wanted to say? Oh, you wrote in the chat. Am I supposed to read the chat?